How to use real estate to avoid paying taxes. So yes, it is possible to invest in real estate, show a taxable loss even though you made money, and use that loss to offset other income you have on your tax return. And yes, all of this is 100% legal and is quite literally inside of the tax law. And all you have to do is sit back, relax, and stick around for a few minutes here, and I will show you exactly how to do this. My name is Sherman the CPA, and I specialize in tax planning for business owners who earn over $100,000 per year in income over at mycpacoach.com. A lot of my clients earn a significant amount of income, and they call on me to help them reduce the taxes that they would otherwise have to pay on that income. And when they tell me they own real estate or are open to investing in real estate, I get extremely excited. And that is because the tax law encourages investors to buy real estate because people need a place to live. And those investors are in turn rewarded handsomely for doing so in the form of tax benefits. The tax law allows real estate investors to deduct something called depreciation from their income, which actually does not cost them any money out of their pockets at all, which can result in investors showing a tax loss on money they've actually earned. And that is just the beginning. To add to that, the tax law allows you to accelerate this expense even more to show more of a loss on your tax return. Then you can use these losses against other sources of income you already earn. There is even a tax loophole specifically that allows you to use these losses against your business or W-2 income. So today I want to walk you through all of this. If you stay and watch this video until the end, you are going to learn the various ways to invest into real estate, the special magic of real estate depreciation, how to accelerate depreciation to create taxable losses, and how to apply these taxable losses against other income you already earn. So if that sounds good to you, please go ahead and click the like button below to help this video reach more people, and let's get this show on the road. Step number one, invest in rental real estate. So the obvious first step to using real estate to avoid taxes is to, well, own real estate. Specifically, the real estate you own needs to be an investment property, or in other words, the property needs to earn rental income. Income is what makes the property a business. No income, no business. And as we know, businesses are able to take a number of tax deductions to lower the amount of income they pay tax on. All right, so what kind of real estate could you invest in? Well, you could invest into single family or multi-family residences like apartments. You could also invest in vacation or short-term rental properties like what you see people doing with Airbnb, or you could invest into commercial property like office space or warehouses. But before going further, you have to determine that you will invest into rental properties and make those investments during the tax year. Step number two, understand the magic of depreciation. So a lot of people fail to understand the tax benefits of real estate because they do not fully understand depreciation. And if you do not understand depreciation, then nothing else here will make sense. So let's spend a moment to talk about depreciation. The IRS defines depreciation as an annual income tax deduction that allows you to recover the cost of your property over the time that you use it. And here's an even better definition that I like. Masterclass defines depreciation as a non-cash expense that companies deduct from their net income. So just think about this for a second. A non-cash expense. And while you're thinking about this, let me know what other non-cash expenses you can use to subtract from your net income and pay less taxes. Go ahead and drop a comment below if you come up with anything, but let's walk through an example to illustrate how depreciation works. All right, so let's say you bought a rental property for $300,000. And let's say your rental income for the year was $20,000, but you incurred $15,000 in cash expenses, so your net profit is $5,000. Now, let's subtract some depreciation. Let's say the useful life of your property is 27 and a half years, according to the IRS, which would mean you could take about $10,900 as a depreciation expense. And by the way, all we did to calculate that was to divide your purchase price of $300,000 by its useful life of 27 and a half years. So before depreciation, you had a $5,000 net profit, but after taking depreciation, you now have a net loss of $5,900. So even though you technically made $5,000 in profits and have an extra $5,000 in your bank account at the end of the year, on paper, you would actually report a tax loss of about $6,000 when you file your tax return. And that, my friends, is the magic of depreciation. It allows you to report less income than what you received and even show a loss. So in the real world, a lot of my high income clients buy real estate, not just for cash flow and appreciation, but for an immediate tax write-off against other sources of income they already have. And unlike other investments that takes a lot of time to see a return, this tax write-off provides an immediate return on your investment. But before you get too excited here, just wait. There's even more you can do with depreciation. Step number 3, use accelerated depreciation to show tax losses. To understand accelerated depreciation, you have to first understand standard depreciation. So by default, whenever you buy rental property, the IRS classifies that property into buckets. There's 3-year property, 5-year property, 10-year property, and so on. The IRS considers the useful life for residential rental property to be 27 and a half years and non-residential property to be 39 years. So normally, to calculate your depreciation expense, you would just take your purchase price and divide it by the useful life of your property's classification according to the IRS. But you also have the ability to accelerate the depreciation on your property. To do that, all you would have to do is get what is called a cost segregation study. And what that study does is that it identifies certain components of your property with shorter periods of useful life, which means you would calculate your depreciation on those specific components instead of the entire property. For example, let's say your property has brand new floors that is worth $27,500. Well, floor coverings qualify as 5-year property according to the IRS. So instead of depreciating this component over 27 and a half years and taking a $1,000 deduction each year, you can take a $5,500 deduction each year over the next 5 years with a cost segregation study. And this is just one example, but this type of study would identify all components in your home and determine which of these components have shorter useful lives, which allows you to accelerate your depreciation. Now, this applies to appliances, fixtures, equipment, cabinets, counters, ceiling fans, and so on. And by the end of your study, you would want something like this. This is a snapshot from a cost segregation study for a property purchase for about $389,000. In the study, they allocated about $86,000 of the property's value to 5-year property, which is going to increase depreciation to $17,000 because it's being split over 5 years instead of 27 and a half years. And there was another $32,000 of components classified as 15-year property, which is going to increase depreciation to about $2,000 because now it is being split over 15 years instead of that 27 and a half. So let's back up here for a second. If none of this makes sense, just remember this. Depreciation is an expense that does not cost you any money out of your pockets at all. And all I have just illustrated here is how you can accelerate this expense to make it even bigger, which will only increase the amount of losses that you are able to take on your tax return. So if we took the $389,000 property and just took straight line depreciation, your total depreciation would have only been about $14,000. But after accelerating depreciation in this scenario, you would have been able to increase your deduction to about $29,000 as an expense that year. So if we assume you had a $5,000 net loss with normal depreciation, you would now have a $20,000 net loss, which means that if you had $100,000 in other income, you would be able to offset $20,000 of it and only pay taxes on the remaining $80,000 in income. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Step number 4, use rental losses to offset your other income. All right, so to offset your other income with rental losses, you have to understand the different types of income and how those types of income are taxed. In general, rental income is considered passive. And when you show a rental loss, that is considered a passive loss and can only be used to offset passive income in general. The IRS says that passive losses that exceed passive income are disallowed and carry forward to future tax years. So that's passive income. And normally people want to use passive losses to offset earned income, which is income you earn through your business or work with a W-2 job. Now, here's the thing. The tax law does allow you to offset earned income with passive losses under certain circumstances. And that's why it's very important to be knowledgeable about these types of things or work with a tax professional who understands the tax law, which you can find at mycpacoach.com. So here are some of the exceptions. Exception number 1, you qualify as a real estate professional. And no, you don't have to have any real estate license or background to qualify for this. The IRS says if you qualify as a real estate professional, rental real estate activities in which you materially participate in are not considered passive activities. And to qualify as a real estate professional, all you have to do is pass 2 tests. Number 1, more than half of all of the personal services you perform in a trade or business must be performed in rental properties where you materially participate. And number 2, you have to have worked at least 750 hours during the tax year you materially participated, which is about 15 hours per week. And in some cases where my clients cannot qualify for this because they're busy in their current business or job, I've seen situations where their spouses can. So consider that as well. Exception number 2, your adjusted gross income is less than $150,000. The IRS grants a special $25,000 allowance to use your passive losses if you or your spouse actively participated in the passive rental real estate activity. So this means that if your income is below a certain threshold, the IRS will allow you to use those passive losses against your ordinary income. And at the time of this video, the special allowance is only given to incomes up to $150,000 in income. Exception number 3, you own short-term rental property. Short-term rentals are not subject to passive activity loss rules, which means if you Airbnb your property, you can still use those losses to offset your ordinary income. The IRS says your activity is not a rental property if any of these conditions apply. Number 1, customers use your property for less than 7 days. And number 2, you provide significant personal services with the rental properties. So if you are acquiring short-term rental property, you should be able to use your losses against your ordinary income. Exception number 4, converting earned income into passive income. So let's say after banging your head against the wall, you can't find a way to use your passive losses against your ordinary income. Well, let's be creative here for just a second then. What if you can turn your ordinary income into passive income? And how exactly would you go about doing that? Well, the biggest difference between ordinary income and passive income is something called material participation. The IRS says a trade or business is not passive if you materially participate in the business. And then they go on to provide 7 tests for material participation. So if you were to argue that your business income was passive, you would have to show the IRS that you did not materially participate in the business by not meeting the criteria for those 7 tests. Step number 5, buy more rentals each year. There is a downside of the strategy of using accelerated depreciation. And that downside is that when you take more depreciation in one tax year, you will have less depreciation in future tax years. Which means if you want to consistently offset your income every year with rental losses, then you will likely have to consistently invest into rental properties to offset that income. So that's just something to be mindful of. Once your depreciation runs out, even your rentals might start showing some income on paper. But at the end of the day, it's not like consistently investing in real estate is a terrible investment. 90% of millionaires own real estate, and the strategies I'll walk you through today are some of the strategies that the ultra wealthy have been using for decades. So if you want to learn more about how to use real estate to avoid income taxes, make sure you subscribe to our channel for more great information like this. And if you are interested in receiving a comprehensive tax plan that is guaranteed to reduce your taxes by thousands of dollars, then consider applying to become an exclusive client of mine today at mycpacoach.com. As always, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.